Hello! Today we are here to discuss Findorff, the latest from Friedemann Friese.
And his long series of F games.
Yes. But before we get into all those F words, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell down there because you don't want to miss any of our dialogue.
Funny.
Yes. Rob, what can you share with us?
This is a 2022 release, so it's still pretty new out there. It plays 1 to 5, ages 12 and up. Playtime is listed at 55 to 75 minutes. Rank of 5,108 on Board Game Geek, rated at 7.1. And then, as Randy said, it's designed by Friedemann Friese. The art is by Lars Arne Koleski, and it's kind of like I'd say a action selection, resource management type of game. When you think?
Yeah, I mean it's engine building.
Yeah, a little bit engine building.
Yeah, it's very light.
Yeah, MSRP is $69.99, but we did find it cheaper. Amazon had it a little bit cheaper, $60.23. Noble Knight had it at $54.95, but as usual, Card House had the best price at $48.79.
All right, so let's talk about what you get for the price. You get a bunch of little wooden bits.
Mm-hmm.
These are like random amorphous blobs that are supposed to represent
Pete.
And you get these little, look like dumbbells, actually.
I thought they looked like race cars. But
okay. They're iron
rails.
They're rails. And then you get those cute
very
squares.
realistic. What was it?
I think that's you're being facetious.
Yeah, very realistic.
That would be another F word. So yes, they're wood,
they're red.
Wood and red.
They're rectangular shaped, just like bricks.
And if they have a little hanging chad, Miranda will not play with them.
Yeah, that's right.
So we had to substitute out any that had little pieces on them.
I mean, clearly these are houses.
Yes.
You know?
So, it was definitely very Catan-esque.
Yes, very much so.
As far as the pieces go.
Now, your cardboard, pretty standard, nothing special about that.
Yes. The cards are oversized, but they don't really have much of a finish as far as
they're pretty glossy.
They're glossy.
And they're thin, so...
What they did put a linen finish on the cardboard. That's got a linen finish on it.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I mean, it's not bad. There's nothing outstanding. The map's pretty cartoonish, geographic map. It's obviously this was the hometown, I believe, of Friedemann Friese, and it was special to him. And he made all the buildings, I'm sure, reflective of what the buildings would have looked like at the time. So it's very historic for that area. But yeah, as far as the quality of the components, I'm probably about a 6.5. I don't see anything outstanding.
I'd say a 6, just because the card quality is really poor. It's thin. If you're going to play it a lot, I think you're going to have to sleeve those up.
And you're going to have to get custom sleeve, or like the tarot size.
Yeah, it's tarot size cards probably.
But I'm not even sure if that's tarot.
But I mean, the pieces. We're becoming more piece snobs for sure. So nothing screen printed. Everything's basic. It's a 6.
Yeah, and we didn't play with the money. It was again cardboard money, so we used our poker chips. So yeah, all right. So moving on to theme. This is basically his love story about his city.
His hometown.
I mean, it's his hometown. So it's all of the history of the buildings. It's basically got the years. There's nothing really in detail about the buildings. It does, it just has the name of the building and the year it was built, and a picture that is a cartoonish representation of the building. Yeah, it's definitely layered on. And it's a very light financial and resource management game with engine building.
Yeah.
But as far as you don't feel like you're in a particular city or particular location. The tiles that you have that have the images that you're placing on the board, I'm sure these are probably geographically correct as far as the locations, but they serve no purpose in the game really, other than the ones that let you build houses on them.
Yep. I think thematically for me, the only thing that I like is the artwork on the chips are pretty nice.
Yeah.
The artwork on the cards, it's okay.
Well, I think it's the same art. It's just smushed down.
Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't look as good as it does on here, maybe, to me. But that's its only saving grace. The board is very monocolored between greens and browns. I bet if someone had some color blindness to green, they'd have a very difficult time with this game. which is not a stretch because green is like I think his favorite color. It's like every box it says is green.
Yes, it seems
so. But yeah, I'm thematically it's just not there. And we'll talk about gameplay. That's where this game shines for me, but it does not shine on theme at all.
Yeah. I'm probably a 6 on this. It's nothing spectacular.
I'm the same way. I'm a 6.
All right. So
how about that fat rulebook?
Yeah, the very
very very thick.
Yeah, it's only 8 pages long. So
now you need maybe a microscope to read it. But
yeah, it is tiny font. It's not as bad as some I've seen, but
it's pretty tiny.
The green background with the faded, I guess, yellowish cream color. With the contrast with the black lettering actually works pretty well.
Right.
But it's not got a cover. It goes straight just from the history, the overview of the town into the components, and then it goes straight into the preparation. It does have a nice map telling you how to set it up. And then you've got, the only problem is if you have change of player count, like we had in this case. We had to start with 3, then somebody turned out to be 4. So we had to reset. When you reset, you have to change a lot of pieces out. So there's certain pieces that you have counts based upon players. And if it's your first time playing, the cards, there's sets of pre-made cards that you get. Normally you would draft for them. But because if you're playing for the first time, then they give you sets in case you don't really know how to draft in this game. So they customize sets, and you have to redo those custom sets. So there's going to be a little more preparation time when you go to set it, if you try to reset from one player count to another.
But really, setup wasn't that bad.
No,
it really wasn't.
It's a pretty easy game. It's easy to learn, easy to teach. It was, it's actually a little wordy for trying to learn. Really to be as it's not as complex as it seems when you're reading it.
Right.
So all in all, it does a pretty good job of communicating it all. It has a solo section, but it's only like half a page, so I can't imagine it's a very advanced solo game.
Yeah, it's probably going to be your old score type of solo.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now it does have all the cards indexed on the back and what they do. I like that. It does a nice job of it communicating all the iconography and telling you exactly what the card does, so there's no confusion. Because of that in particular, I'm going to give it a 7.5. I think it does a decent job, nothing outstanding. The font's small, but it does a good job communicating those cards, which is really key to the game.
And as far as Randy teaching it from the rulebook, I was half asleep for half of it for whatever reason, and still picked it up super quick.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's move on to the gameplay. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to have the market set up such that it's from basically the peat is from 6 on. The board would not have any of the rails on it yet, but there's 2 rail tracks, one that is labeled with a 1 and one that's labeled with a 2. And basically it's the timer of the game. So the actions you take during the game are going to cause the timer to accelerate as you go through the game. So this game will end faster than you want it to.
It ended way faster than I wanted it to. Yeah, even though I don't think I was going to win either way, but still.
So you have a personal player board, which is really just a little piece of cardboard but it does very similar to Hedara, where you can build onto it and make it give you additional, in this case, actions, whereas Hedara, it's different stats you get more and more of.
And I really like the mechanic of that.
Yeah. So,
I thought it was nice.
So you can, basically you start at the top of this board and you work your way down. You can go up to 3 spaces down, but at the beginning of the game in particular, you're going to want to take your time each way. You don't have to move at all. You can stay on the same action and take it multiple turns in a row. But you can only take it as many times as you have developed out. So the first action is purchasing. So in the purchasing action, you're going to start out with some money, depending on player count. It'll range, from 16 on up.
The 22, I think, was
the max. For 4. This is a 5-player game, so
true. It can go even higher.
So you're going to have a certain amount of money, and there's buildings that you can build that are either you can build cards, but we'll get to that in a minute. But you can build production facilities that are going to give you the capability of either increasing the amount of actions you can take in any one of these steps by adding on to it, or you can increase your production of...
Basically get factories that can produce...
factories that produce...
brick or rails.
Or peat.
Did anybody buy the other peat?
I didn't see a point in it during the game because the peat decreases in value so fast.
And we'll talk about that. Yeah, but
so basically, that's what your purchase action is. And once you've decided to stop purchasing, because right now I only have one action, but I can keep doing that.
You can stay there each
going
time,
around, doing once per round until I decide to move on. The next action, if I choose to go only one step, is to get workers. So you start the game with one worker, which you can assign to one of your production facilities during the production round. Now, some of the production facilities, the better ones, cost 2 workers, so you'll want to probably get more workers. Workers do not cost anything in this game, so
which was really nice.
Well, it was, but
there was a couple of actions that, I mean, we're so used to playing games that it costs money to get workers, and then it costs something to keep them. And you didn't have to worry about either one of those.
You didn't, but that was actually one of the things I don't like about this game.
Really?
Because basically it streamlines it to the point where I felt like it was just basically the only goal was to build these cards as fast as you possibly could.
Well, I agree with that.
So, the fact that I didn't have to spend money on workers or feeding workers or supporting workers, there
was enough tension.
Yeah, it took out a lot of what you would typically see in any kind of a labor type game. So, but yeah, you can go here and just get a free worker. Now, if I build it out, I'll get 1 worker per space I got. So I could get, if I got another one, I get 2 workers or what have you.
And it's important to note, we'll get to it, but there's a stage where you actually have to kill off a worker. Yeah. So it's important to get enough to where you're prepared for later rounds.
Yes. The next one is your production. So this is where you assign your workers to your production facility. So if I go here, in this case, Miranda had built out a second one. So she would get to assign 2 workers. So she can take 2 of her workers and assign them here. And this facility requires 2 workers.
But that's one
action.
That's one action. It just takes 2 people.
Yeah, that production action activates one of your factories. So she signs them there. She would get 3 iron. And here she's got another one, so she can assign it here and get 2 peat.
Right.
And that would be 2 production action. Now, if she had 2 more workers, she could assign them later to
get the 3
brick, but she doesn't have any more workers at the moment. The next action you can go down to is selling. So this is where you sell resources that you've accumulated because you only have spots on a warehouse card for 10 resources. Right. There are some buildings that give you a little additional storage, but for the most part, you're limited to 10.
Yeah.
So if I go here, I can sell my resources. So I can sell peat. It's going to go back to the peat market, and it's going to go for the going price, which right now is 5. I forget what the unit
5
was.
Thayers.
That's right, Thayers.
Or Thalers.
Thalers.
Yeah, Thalers.
Thalers. So they go back to the market, and it's going to decrease the price potentially.
Right.
If I sell the brick, I'm going to sell it. In this case, I'm not selling it per se. I'm using it to build houses. So I get to place houses on the board. These houses will generate 4 income, assuming you have enough workers to supply them.
And the houses is what sped this game up.
The houses do speed the game up.
It sped it up quite a bit.
And then if I sell the rails actually go to the board.
Yeah.
So these are going to take up. This is also going to accelerate the game because that's the timer.
Yeah, because the rails never go back to the supply. They go back to the board, and they go to the board. That's the timer.
Yep. So that's basically all the sell action. You can do it as many times again as you have the action tiles. Then the final thing is the bureaucracy stage. So this one they've got a little cheat sheet for. I wish they would have had a cheat sheet for all of them, but they had a cheat sheet for this one particular one because it's the most complex. So first you have heating your homes. This one is another one that kind of was a little disoriented.
It's just different.
Yeah, because you don't have to pay for any heating of your homes. For each house that you have on the board, you're going to remove 1 peat from the market. So it's basically helping to increase the cost.
The value of the peat.
Yeah, so you remove. So if I had 3 houses, I would take 3 peat off there, and that would drive the price up. Then the next one is for every house and worker combination you have, you're going to add a rail to the board. So it's going to accelerate the market, the timer. Plus, you get 4 money for each one of those.
Right.
So that was how you got a lot of your income, was
Mhm.
just by building houses. Then after that, this is when time passes and you lose one of your workers.
Yep,
So,
it specifically says it dies of age.
Yep. So I think you're working them too hard in your
Right.
factories, but whatever. So one of them goes to a permanent rest. The others go back to their homes.
Permanent rest.
Yes. And then after that, if you've built any cards that give you any kind of income during the income phase, you would get that income as well. And that's how I generated most of my income, was building buildings that gave me money.
Right.
I was going to really dominate that until Miranda snagged that.
Miranda grabbed one that gave her
big
20.
20 point money one from me before.
He still kicked our butts, though, so don't feel too bad for him.
Yeah. So, basically, then after that, you're going to reset back to the top and just go through it again.
So one of the interesting mechanics, which I didn't take advantage of, and I don't know if anybody did, was skipping.
Yeah, I did.
Did you? Because like, you could always use extra people. You could always, generally, you're always going to be able to sell. You're always going to be able to produce. So, I mean, maybe towards the very end of the game, then I could see that.
Yeah,
but
I didn't see
90% of the game, we're doing all 4 of those actions, I think.
No, the last 2 rounds around through here, I jumped from, I purchased my buildings, I went down and produced, and then I went straight to bureaucracy because I needed the resources to build with. Because, in addition to needing them for selling to get money, a lot of the cards have costs that cost you brick or iron.
Right. And that's why I didn't really see that. I didn't see I could actually need to skip, because I needed to produce the resources. I needed to sell the resources to get the money, then produce enough resources to where I have both money and resources to get those cards.
Yeah, and that's where it was handy to have multiple actions at once, because I could get more workers than I needed and then just let them die off and go straight to the bureaucracy. So I wasn't ever in a situation where I needed to grab a worker necessarily to get
and I tried to run it lean, so that way I only needed to use it once and then move by quickly. Just have enough people for what I need and having one to die off, and it wouldn't bother me. Yeah. So I didn't have extras.
Yeah, whereas Dwight, I think, was trying to go for a strategy of burning all the people away so nobody could have.
But everything is infinite, so you can never have enough workers. Yeah,
so he was going down a kind of a folly, fool's folly. There's 2 more F words. Basically, you're trying to build these cards as fast as you can is what it comes down to.
Yeah, because
these are worth 50
points. So
another F word.
I think I did really well. Except for I didn't build enough cards. If I had built 2 more cards, I would have been in the running for score. Yeah. But because I didn't get those 2 extra cards built, I was 100 points behind. So I think you're right. It's a race to build cards.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I didn't like, because it felt like I could.
It's not a point salad, which is what you really like.
I could focus because there was no other distractions for taking my money away. Yeah. I could focus all my energy on just getting the stuff I needed to build the cards.
You built your engine, and then once the engine's built, you could run away.
Yeah, it was it didn't feel like a satisfying engine. It felt like I was building just a few cards, and that was it. Because you're only going to you start out with, depending on player count, like in this case, with 4 players, we had 5 cards. Yeah. So you're going to get those 5 cards, and then there's 5 in a market that you could potentially get. But if you build them while you still have cards at hand, you have to use one of your cards to swap. Mm-hmm. So you're really only getting the 5 cards in your hand, but once your hand's empty, depleted, you could potentially build up to 5 more if other people don't take them first. So you've got a max potential with 4 players of 10 buildings that you can build. But you're really not going to have time to do it, because the timer will run out too fast. And that's what we ran into, is the clock, because once this rail completes and you start the next rail, the second rail, the only difference is that basically coal has been discovered. Right. And it's more efficient for energy production. So instead of the peat being depleted because you need it more, you're actually adding more peat. So the price goes down.
One of the things I thought it wasn't frustrating. It was just, I was able to build up quite a bit of peat. But it didn't do me any good being able to sell it, because with us building so many houses and it building up these rails so quickly every turn, the peat was coming back faster than I could get rid of it. Yeah. So therefore, I wasn't making a whole lot of money on the peat. And so maybe bad strategy on my part, but that's the cards that I got that generated this.
Well, that's why I had a lot of them, so that's why I was swapping them out, because the peak I could see was going to die off way faster than we wanted it to. So yeah, it felt like the peak value didn't really have as much significance as I would have liked. I think the game itself was interesting, and I liked the mechanics of the card play.
I agree.
But it just didn't feel like it was that deep. It's definitely a light game.
For sure. And maybe that's one of the reasons why I did like it, because like one of my favorite games is Power Grid. Mm-hmm. I love Power Grid, but that's a little bit more of a brain burner than this. But it does introduce some basic concepts that you could build off of to lead to Power Grid.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate it for that reason.
And it actually references Power Grid in the rules.
Well, this is similar. The market here is similar to that, except for it's nowhere near as punishing. Power Grid is very much more punishing. How you can manipulate it and be able to screw people over.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is if you're in the market for a light financial game, this is good.
I agree.
Or if you like engine building, but you don't want to get deep, this is definitely a very light engine builder. And
the thing that kind of I just wish it had more replay value. But I think because it is so light that it's not deep enough to earn multiple plays.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is I've seen a lot of people talking about this being better than Fayum.
Oh no,
and I don't think so at all.
No,
I think Fayum is way better.
Fayum's definitely got more meat to it.
As far as my thoughts on this, I think my score, I'm probably about a 6.5 is where I'm at.
I'm going to be a little bit higher to 7, because even though the theme and all that kind of lacking, I do like the mechanics quite a bit. And again, it's something that you can use to build to more complex games by Friedemann Friese that I think would be a good foundation to have. So I want to give it that a little bit of an extra credit, I guess, out of 7. Mm-hmm. So I'm a 7.
Oh, that's our thoughts on Findorff. So if you've had a chance to play it, let us know what you think. Or tell us what your favorite F-related game is. We'd like to know.
Yeah, all of Friedemann Friese's games begin with F. So
yeah, keep in mind that this is a PG-13
network.
Right. So when you share those F words,
that's right.
So all right. So until next time, keep on gaming, and we will keep on videoing.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Like